Good evening, I'm Ian Hanomansing. Tonight, a ship fire off the BC coast. The dangerous goods that burst into flames, some are still missing.
You shouldn't lose freight like that.
And a historic storm is coming. Questions mount about the deadly onset shooting involving Alec Baldwin.
It's definitely a stark reminder for gun safety on set.
The crew's safety concerns before that fatal moment. When you return a rental car after hours, you may still be on the hook.
I was totally shocked.
The Toronto man going public after getting a $3,000 bill. Mark Messier opens up from playing alongside Gretzky to brawls on the ice.
I obviously made some big mistakes in my career that I look back on and cringe. I guess the era that I grew up in was different than it is now.
And his pick for the next great one. This is The National. Two big stories are colliding off the coast of Vancouver Island tonight. One, efforts to contain a fire involving hazardous material on board a cargo ship. The other, what's being called a bomb cyclone churning overhead, making those efforts even harder. That ship, MV Zim Kingston, has had a rocky few days, first losing dozens of containers in rough waters, then having some on board burst into flames. Renee Filipponi has the latest now on the fire, the missing containers, and why some say losing cargo is happening far too often.
It's been a battle to contain a fire that consumed multiple containers on a ship anchored off Victoria. The ship was mostly evacuated, with just a handful of crew left on board to fight the fire. They were joined by vessels working to cool the ship's hull. By the afternoon, the Coast Guard said things were under control.
The next stages are going to be for very specific hazardous material firefighters to go aboard that, and then basically corner to corner, C-can to C-can, look at if there is any continuing fire.
Those special firefighters needed because of what was burning.
The material that that we suspect caused the fire on board as well is a compound called potassium xanthate, which is defined as hazardous.
That has Victoria residents worried about air quality. The province says it's monitoring the situation, but there is no current risk. But a bigger problem may be the 40 containers that fell off that ship on Friday in rough seas. 2 are filled with that same hazardous material. The U.S. Coast Guard is watching closely.
Because they are combustibles, we have a chance of that going off inside the containers while they're floating in the water. However, as of now, we're currently making sure that we're monitoring them.
Experts say incidents of containers falling off ships are becoming more regular.
There's some discussion in the community about whether that is due to the fact that there are larger ships being built every year and that perhaps storms in the Pacific in particular are more intense.
This former seaman questions why it happened at all.
You shouldn't lose freight like that. You know, when it's that bad, you slow down, you go into the sea, and you ride it out.
For now, the search for those missing containers is on hold as a powerful storm approaches BC's south coast. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
Okay, let's focus on that storm now with the help of our CBC meteorologist, Johanna Wagstaff. And Joe, just the name of this will get people's attention, a bomb cyclone.
Yeah, Ian, believe it or not, that is a meteorological term, and that is the storm we're dealing with tonight. This storm underwent bombogenesis. That's when the central pressure drops 24 millibars in 24 hours. This one doubled that. In fact, take a look at the incredible satellite imagery yesterday when it started that deepening process. The deeper the storm, the stronger the storm. And indeed, it looks like a hurricane sitting just off the coast of Vancouver Island. It's not, but this is one that meteorologists are glued to. This is now the strongest storm ever recorded in the Pacific Northwest. For those who track pressure, that's 942.6 millibars. We've got the center, Ian, but the rain-wrapped tail also hitting Northern California tonight, where landslides and washouts are concerned in those burn scar areas. So all eyes on this historic storm, Ian. We're just grateful that the center isn't about 300 kilometers closer to us.
All right, and for those of us who don't know our millibars, what should we be expecting from this storm?
Well, the peak winds still to come. I'm in North Vancouver, and you can see it's not too windy here tonight, but we've already seen gusts this afternoon across the south coast, over 80 kilometers per hour, thousands without power already on the island. The peak winds still to come overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, and we do have wind warnings in place for much of the island, the Sunshine Coast, and western and southern sections of Metro Vancouver. It's not the wind speeds, though, that we're really worried about, Ian. It's the duration. 36 hours of 50 kilometer per hour wind gusts. And as I said, it's just getting started.
Okay, Johanna, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
To the U.S. now, where mourners are gathering tonight to honor Halyna Hutchins, the cinematographer killed in that accidental shooting on a New Mexico movie set. The actor who pulled the trigger, Alec Baldwin, is offering support to the family as the questions pile up about gun safety on set. Magda Gebersalasa reports.
Tonight is about Halyna.
There is shared heartbreak and outrage as friends and colleagues gathered to remember Halyna Hutchins. The Hollywood cinematographer died in hospital after being shot on the set of the movie Rust.
One of the most talented and kind, collaborative artists.
Hutchins was one of 2 people accidentally shot by the film's producer and actor Alec Baldwin on Thursday. Baldwin was handed the gun by the film's assistant director, who reportedly said the gun wasn't loaded. The assistant director and the film's armorer have yet to speak publicly.
If I was on that set, I would be very curious as to what broke down as far as the rules.
The LA Times reported there was trouble on the set prior to the shooting. Crews saying safety protocols weren't being followed and reporting other incidents of prop guns accidentally discharging. The production company said it wasn't made aware of this. At the Vigil, members of the film community made it clear changes in the industry are needed now.
It's definitely a stark reminder for gun safety on set. And I am with the idea of banning real guns from set if that's possible.
I don't know what failed, but the fact that this happened shows that an elemental piece of that safety protocol didn't work.
Baldwin has said his heart was broken for her family. This weekend, he was seen with them. On social media, Matt Hutchins said his wife's legacy is too meaningful to encapsulate in words. Our loss is enormous. The film industry is stepping up to support Hutchins' family. An online fundraising campaign has already raised nearly $200,000. Magda Gebersalasa, CBC News, Washington.
Here in Canada, the military has been flying equipment and personnel into Iqaluit all weekend to help the community deal with its water crisis. Residents have been without safe tap water for nearly 2 weeks after it was found to be contaminated. Rafi Boudjikanian has the latest.
After days of waiting, water purification units have landed in Iqaluit, but they're not ready to deploy.
There's a number of factors, everything from environmental to distribution.
The Canadian military has experienced purifying water, but it's been under different conditions, like in Haiti after the 2010 earthquake.
Weather plays a huge factor in all of these considerations. Normally these units are deployed into a warmer climate. Coming up north and operating these units is certainly something that's unique to us.
It could take up to a week. Since the state of emergency was declared 12 days ago, at least 200,000 liters of bottled water have been flown in, and the river has been used as a water source. But with temperatures dropping, it's starting to freeze over. While Iqaluit's residents are left to wait, the questions are piling up.
Sometimes my mind does go there, like, what were the levels? How long were we consuming it?
She's even fielding questions from her 3-year-old.
When she brushes her teeth, she needs to use the bottled water that's there. And she reminds us, when I was washing the dishes the other day, oh, Mommy, there's gas in the water. Can you use it?
It's not just daily life that's disrupted. So is urgent medical care, according to this resident doctor speaking on Rosemary Barton Live.
You can't use that water for sterilizing medical equipment. The really unfortunate thing, which has been really challenging to see for a lot of patients that might need acute surgical intervention, is that the operating room is not able to function.
And the other big question, what caused all this? So far, authorities believe the contamination was in soil or groundwater and may have leached into one of the city's 2 underground tanks, and they expect to drill for samples early next week. Rafi Bijikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
Federal help is also on the way to Saskatchewan. Its ICUs still under enormous strain. Since Friday, the province has reported 17 COVID deaths. And as Sam Sampson explains, some worry the help that's coming isn't nearly enough.
More than 800 white flags flap in the wind at the base of Saskatchewan's legislative building, each one representing someone who died from COVID-19. Matthew Cardinal was almost one of them.
It didn't have to get this bad.
Cardinal was hospitalized with the virus earlier this year. He's upset the provincial government didn't keep up public health orders over the summer.
Behind these very doors, they made the decisions, they underestimated the virus, and look where we are today.
At least 8 patients have been transferred to Ontario ICUs so far. Up to 9 more are expected in the coming days. To help, 6 critical care nurses from the Canadian Armed Forces are stepping in soon. Some medical experts say it's a welcome break, but it's just a Band-Aid solution.
That's really enough to staff 2 beds over 2 days, so it's certainly not going to solve the problem.
COVID hospitalizations have been surging since the summer. Saskatchewan began canceling surgeries weeks ago, but so far there have been few changes in public health rules and no new restrictions on gatherings.
The government can redeem itself in the next few days, weeks, if it does the right thing. But if it chooses to take ego and politics ahead of the citizens, ahead of the lives and the health of people in Saskatchewan, then there will be a very tragic price, and they will certainly be responsible for it.
When you're hearing from your ICU physicians that they're starting to use laundry rooms as spaces to care for patients, I think it's quite fair to say that you have a crisis on your hands.
Overall case counts in Saskatchewan are decreasing, but that could change. Modeling last week from the province suggested ICU COVID admissions could double by the new year without new restrictions. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Winnipeg.
What happens next in this pandemic is still uncertain, especially considering that winter weather means we'll be spending more time indoors. But in 2 provinces, starting Monday, restrictions are relaxing. BC lifting capacity limits on hockey games, concerts, and other big indoor events across most of the province with masks on and proof of vaccination. But some regions with low vaccination rates will have to wait longer. And in Ontario, capacity limits will be lifted Monday at restaurants, gyms, casinos, places of worship, museums, and personal care establishments like hair salons. Again, with proof of vaccination. For some, a long-awaited move. Those limits had been lifted 2 weeks ago in Ontario for big events like hockey games. And this weekend, broad pandemic support for both business and workers ended. Ottawa shifting to smaller and more targeted programs. But as Valeria Corey-Minocchio shows us, not everyone is ready for the change.
Seemed unfair.
Federal rent and wage subsidies kept Reem Schmolly's gym going in the pandemic.
It was kind of shocking to see that we're losing basically all help next month.
And her revenue losses aren't high enough to qualify for new pandemic support programs.
We are moving from the very broad-based support that was appropriate at the height of our lockdowns to more targeted measures.
Those measures include the Tourism and Hospitality Recovery Plan, aimed at subsidizing the lost revenues of hotels, restaurants, and travel agencies at up to 75%. But to qualify for that, applicants must show monthly revenue losses of at least 40%. For businesses suffering even bigger losses, 50% or more, there's the hardest hit business recovery program, but that still leaves some out.
For many small and medium-sized firms, the government has set the bar so incredibly high that they're not going to be able to access any of the really critical supports that the new programs provide.
Support for individuals also ended Saturday, the Canada Recovery Benefit, which largely replaced the CERB. Pierre Brault, a self-employed actor, depended on it. His line of work faces an uncertain future.
CRB running out puts me in a very vulnerable position, because while I want to continue in the arts and continue performing, I'm uncertain about the audience. How large is the audience when they do come back? If they do come back, I will miss the security of having at least my rent covered.
But this economist says eliminating the CRB will push people back into the workforce and that the programs were costly.
Now it's just an unwinding of the program that was there to get us through to this point in the first place.
A point where the government says much of the country is recovering, but some continue to struggle. Valeria Corey-Minocchio, CBC News, Montreal.
And pandemic recovery will be a big job for Justin Trudeau's new cabinet, which will be unveiled on Tuesday. Today on Rosemary Barton Live, another three-term Liberal Prime Minister reflected on the challenges he faced in choosing his team, suggesting Prime Minister Trudeau could benefit from listening to the old guard.
Of course, I cannot pass what I would do today. No. I really don't know. I'm not there.
Yes.
But sometimes I thought that, you know, they would have been better served if they would have looked to have older, experienced people with them. But others have a different style, and Justin, obviously, he does not think like me.
No.
Because he claimed that he's doing politics in a different way.
That's right.
But between you and I, politics is always politics.
Chrétien stressed he was not criticizing the Prime Minister's decisions, but he did say the current government has not tapped him for advice. And stay with us for the government's official swearing in this Tuesday. Rosemary Barton hosts our special coverage live from Rideau Hall. That starts at 9 a.m. Eastern on CBC News Network and CBC Gem. Now to a Go Public investigation. If you rent a vehicle, this story might make you think twice about returning it after hours. A Toronto man got a bad case of sticker shock after taking his rental truck back. He was hit with a $3,300 bill. Erica Johnson shows us why.
Samuel Wardlaw rented a cube van from this Enterprise location last May. He just needed it for a few hours to move, returned it after hours, and dropped off the keys as instructed.
I thought I would be done at the time the truck was returned and the keys were put through the slot, but that turned out not to be the case.
A week later, the car rental giant sent Wardlaw an unexpected email telling him the truck was damaged after he left it on the lot and that he was on the hook.
To see over $3,300 in damage, I was totally shocked.
Enterprise said a thief had stolen part of the exhaust system, like this one, the catalytic converter, full of precious metals valuable on the black market.
As per our company policy,
the car rental company pointed to a clause in its lengthy terms and conditions saying if a vehicle is returned during non-business hours, any damage, loss, or theft is the renter's responsibility.
It's their truck, it's their catalytic converter, and it's their lot. The fact that I rented it is somewhat incidental to the actual theft that happened. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they think it's 100% my liability.
Go Public checked the terms and conditions for all the major players, Enterprise, Avis, and Hertz. They control 95% of the car rental market in Canada. All have similar language.
They're relying on this single sentence buried in a 30-page document.
Lawyer Jennifer Marston says there's legal precedent. Companies need to be upfront if they want an unexpected clause in a contract to be enforceable.
If a company wants to put something in a contract that imposes a heavy burden on a consumer, it's incumbent upon them to bring that to the consumer's attention.
When Go Public contacted Enterprise, it insisted customers drop off vehicles after hours at their own risk. But it did drop its claim against Wardlaw with no explanation and apologized to its customer for confusion. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
If you have a story to share or a tip you'd like Go Public to look into, you can email them directly, gopublic@cbc.ca. The drama unfolding at Rogers is getting very ugly and very public.
It doesn't look like you have your house in order when you're bickering publicly on the internet.
Coming up, a bitter family feud, the latest on the fight for power at one of Canada's largest companies. Plus, truck drivers wanted, but not enough people applying.
There's a feeling in general population that you couldn't achieve anything else, so you became a truck driver.
With fewer trucks on the road, could our food supply be affected? And Mark Messier, NHL legend, now telling his story. I speak with him about what he misses most about the game.
What I came to realize really is it's those special moments all year long that make the journey so incredibly rewarding.
We're back in a moment.
I love it when you do it like that, and when you're closer, give me the shivers.
Ed Sheeran says he's tested positive for COVID. He won't be able to do any in-person appearances, but he says he'll try to do as much as he can from home. Sheeran is scheduled to appear on Saturday Night Live in a couple of weeks. New developments in the battle for control of Rogers Communications this weekend. The family dispute has been described as a real-life version of the HBO drama Succession. An ultra-powerful family living in the shadow of a patriarch fighting over a sprawling media empire. Talia Ricci has the latest on this very public family feud.
Boardroom battles are nothing new, but observers say the public nature of this one could have consequences.
The whole family infight so public. This is one of the worst I have seen.
It's been a volatile week for the Rogers. On one side, eldest son Edward. On the other, his mother and sisters. At issue, control of one of Canada's largest media companies. Earlier this week, Edward was removed as chair following an attempt to oust the current CEO. But he still controls the family trust and its voting shares. He called a Sunday board meeting, which independent board directors have dismissed as invalid. His sister Martha went even further in a barrage of tweets all weekend, seemingly mocking her brother and advisors as would-be puppet masters and masters of the universe.
It doesn't look like you have your house in order when you're bickering publicly on the internet. That doesn't help anyone.
Earlier today, matriarch Loretta Rogers said in a statement, Edward unfortunately continues to proceed down a misguided and miscalculated path that puts his own interests ahead of those of Rogers' employees, customers, and shareholders. All this while Rogers tries to finalize the multi-billion-dollar takeover of Shaw Communications.
The prospect of deal completion and also subsequent integration will be highly risky. The stock market already has its vote.
This expert says mediation is possible, but calls the current situation unsustainable.
It affects all Canadians. And they look at this and they think, why is this happening? And that's a very good question.
Whether this inter-family drama will impact the Shaw deal or shareholders is something Canadians will be watching for in the weeks ahead. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
First Nations across the country are watching the fallout from a recent decision at the BC Supreme Court. It could give them a much bigger say on the development of their traditional lands. The case involved the Blueberry River First Nations in northeast British Columbia. It's about an hour's drive from Fort St. John. Kyle Bax now on the ruling and the ramifications.
Hovering more than 100 meters in the air, Chief Marvin Yahe surveys his community's territory, the many sun-soaked lakes and forests, and all the development too, from oil and gas sites to forestry and farming. What Yahe can't see are any moose or caribou. That's why the Blueberry River First Nations took the provincial government to court and won. This summer, the BC Supreme Court ruled the province failed to maintain the nation's rights to hunt and fish, saying while not one single project was to blame, all the development had a devastating effect on the community. Now the First Nation has signed an interim agreement with the province, and the chief says gained decision-making power.
It's extremely important that our views are taken very seriously.
Many other First Nations could take similar court action, including those in Alberta's oil sands.
That really does change the law in Canada and potentially opens the door to similar claims all across the country.
There are concerns about the economic fallout and difficulty getting projects built. Companies are making spending plans for next year amid an uncertain future.
So there's a lot of money at stake for them.
The BC government could have appealed the lower court ruling, but in the spirit of reconciliation, decided not to.
We believe it's the right way forward, and we're committed to working with the nations, and indeed all of Treaty 8 nations, to achieve a better outcome for all in the future.
About 85% of Blueberry territory is within 500 meters of an industrial site, showing how little of the land is untouched.
The places that I grew up in, hunt and chopped, and there's nothing there now.
Chief Yahe says the Blueberry are not opposed to development, as many members work in those local industries. He just wants a say in how it is done. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Fort St. John.
Next on The National, you may remember Mark Messier as a tough guy on the ice.
Well, there's Messier, went right at Roberts.
Years later, he's reflecting on the fights and what it took to win the game.
I didn't know where the boundary was for me personally.
My conversation with the hockey great next. Welcome back. They were widely regarded as one of the greatest hockey teams ever assembled. And now one of their superstars, Mark Messier, has written a memoir giving us an ice-level view of what it was like to be an Edmonton Oiler during their 5 Stanley Cup wins and one more in New York. It's a story about the pursuit of excellence and leadership that resonates beyond the rink. By any measure, Mark Messier is one of the greatest hockey players ever.
Messier wheels down the right side, over the Islander blue line. Messier moves through the defense, he scores! Oh, did he handle the biscuit?
He was an unstoppable force for one of the NHL's most dominant dynasties, helping the Great One lift 4 Stanley Cups with the Edmonton Oilers, and then winning another after Wayne Gretzky was traded.
Kevin and I are roommates, and we said, well, let's go there and win this one for Gretz, and if he's watching, this one's for you, big guy.
Despite all of that success, Messier may be best known for this moment as captain of the New York Rangers, the guarantee.
This was headlines on all the sports sections in New York. Mark Messier said, we will win Game 6.
With his team facing elimination in the '94 playoffs, Messier guaranteed a win and led the Rangers to its first Stanley Cup in 54 years.
Do you believe it? He said we will win Game 6. He has just picked up the hat trick.
Mark Messier is the only player in NHL history to captain 2 different teams to a Stanley Cup victory. And the league has named its leadership award after him. Now he's writing about it in his upcoming memoir, No One Wins Alone. I caught up with Mark Messier earlier this week near his home in Greenwich, Connecticut. Mark Messier, thank you very much for doing this.
Great to be with you.
Now, lots of people in Canada obviously know who you are, and we just had that little introduction, but just in case there's somebody who doesn't know who Mark Messier is, how would you describe yourself to them?
Oh, that's a great question. I've spent a lifetime trying not to talk about myself, as difficult it is, and here I am writing a book and trying to talk about myself. So, I don't know, curious, passionate, wants to have a good time.
Okay, so you didn't use the word leadership. I thought that would be part of the description, because anytime someone talks about you, obviously Hall of Fame hockey player, but they talk about you as being this great leader. Tell me about that. How did that come about, Mark Messier, leader?
Well, interesting. As a young boy, I had a father who played hockey, so I got an early lesson in hockey on and off the ice and the psychology behind winning through my father, watching him coach and watching him mentor young players at the junior level, and then being around great players, great leaders myself. From the time that I came into the league and to the time I finished, I was very fortunate to be around great people who I learned a lot from.
So famously, you're the only player in the history of the NHL to be a captain of 2 Stanley Cup winning teams, Edmonton and the Rangers, but you were not the captain of the Oilers for quite a while, because Gretzky was. And one of the really interesting things about the book to me is to get your ice level and dressing room level insight into Wayne Gretzky. So I think a lot of people watching, they know he's a great player, they've seen the statistics, but they don't know him the way you know him. What is it that made him great?
Well, I think the God-given talent that he was given, there's no question about it. He was born to be a hockey player in every way. His will to win and be the best player ever was evident to everybody that was around him and played on the team with him. There very rarely in life can you look at a guy that's 8 days younger than you and use him as an example from leadership perspective. On and off the ice, his focus was unparalleled. He was in a completely different state of mind than I was at 18 years old. And I got the luxury of sitting across the best player on the planet, maybe the best athlete in the last 100 years, for 12 years and look across at him and watch and learn from him. I would have been a fool not to look at him and take something from him. And he made me a better player, not only from a skill standpoint, but from a preparation, commitment, focus standpoint as well.
Well, enough about him. Let's talk about you some more. I brought this book along, speaking of leadership. Have you read this, Ty Domi's book?
I have read excerpts of it, yes.
Yeah, so I was reading through it the other day, and then early on, he spends 4 or 5 pages of his story talking about you. And I just want to read one of the paragraphs here. So this is Ty Domi saying, I looked to Messier as an example of what it meant to be a true leader and how I should treat the people around me. I took his words to heart, and I saw his actions as an inspiration for how I could work on my skills, but also, he says, develop myself into a more well-rounded player. Mark Messier made a lasting difference in my life. And it's not just Ty Domi. Lots of people talk about the impact you had on them as a player, but also as a person. When you hear that, what do you think?
Well, I think for me, myself, I recognized very early on that I wasn't the kind of player that could carry a team by myself. And I knew that if you wanted to win, it was going to be important to have everybody buying into the culture and the vision that's been created by the team and the players themselves. I wanted everybody to feel a part of it, no matter what role they played on the team. And everybody has to feel that if anything less than their best is not good enough. And it's the totality of the team effort that really you rely on in order to win, and surrounding yourself with people that are just as focused.
You know, you hear people ask athletes their welcome to the major league moment. So think back to whether it's 17 years old in the WHA or 18 in the NHL. What was the moment where you thought to yourself, man, I am in the big leagues now?
I remember playing exhibition games in smaller venues around Canada. And then our first National Hockey League game was in Chicago Stadium.
This hockey game tonight about to get underway. Messier playing the left side with
and when they played the national anthem with that organ and the crowd going crazy, we looked at each other. We couldn't hear ourselves think. We looked at each other and said, wow, welcome to the NHL.
Wow. So the game is a lot different than it was before. A lot less fighting than there was before. You were a guy who was a tough, aggressive hockey player. You also say in your book, you talk about one of the sort of moments on the ice was an encounter between you and the Montreal Canadiens Hall of Fame defenseman Larry Robinson. Tough guy, skilled, a little bit bigger than you, a little bit older, and he elbowed you, you got mad, and you held your stick up like you were ready to swing it. And Robinson, you point out in the book, kind of recognized that maybe this is not the time to move in any closer to Mark Messier.
Oh, it looked like an ugly situation was going to develop there, and the officials got in. Messier really threatening.
But you also say in your book that you've thought a lot about that moment, and you wonder, how much would you have done to win? What's the answer to that question?
I think there's been a few moments in my career that I wrestled with that, and it actually frightened me at times because I didn't know where the boundary was for me personally.
Mark Messier's motto is live every day like it's your last, and that's sort of the way he plays. He is such a fierce competitor, and that's how most players in the National Hockey League, I'm sure, perceive Mark Messier. Like, this guy is way out of control.
How can you give me a penalty because my stick broke? Because he fell down and my stick broke? Is that why? Is that why?
Right or wrong, obviously made some big mistakes in my career that I look back on and cringe. But I guess the era that I grew up in was different than it is now. It's, you know, there was more survival. You had to earn respect on the ice in different ways. The reality is that, you know, I don't know where that limit was, and that's not a good thing, I guess.
So one of the cool things about being an Oiler in those days is you were surrounded not just by superstars, but all of you guys were born in 60, 61, 62. So you grew up together. You were teenagers together. You were in your early 20s together. What was your favorite part of that, or what was a moment where you kind of thought, this is so much fun?
The favorite moment is the journey that began with all of us that first year. Through the year, we became, like you talk about, really good friends, the core group of guys, and Kevin, and then next year Paul came, and Grant, and pretty soon, we were a brotherhood that were on, marching on a journey together, and we knew that, Wayne was going to do special things in his career. There was no doubt about that he was going to win a Stanley Cup at some point. So we all said, we just got to figure out a way to how to chip in and support him, and hopefully we could win a Stanley Cup one day. And sure enough, we were able to go on and win 4 together.
Yeah, and 4 together, but then 5 in all. There was that one more Stanley Cup after Gretzky had been traded. One thing I often hear hockey players talk about, and I think I've heard Wayne Gretzky say this in an interview, is that one of the things you miss when your career is over is just not being in the dressing room anymore, not being part of that team. Do you miss hockey?
Well, I think he's right, and you know, it's an interesting. There's a real kind of euphoric feeling when the final whistle goes and everybody piles on the ice and you lift the Stanley Cup, and then about a week later there's a real lull. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's a sadness, but it's a little bit of a depressive feeling because you're not going to the dressing room. And what I came to realize really is it's those special moments all year long that make the journey so incredibly rewarding and memorable. And of course we all remember lifting the Stanley Cup, but it's what Wayne talked about, the dressing room banter, the travel. You know, those are the things that are part of the journey that you really remember, that are so memorable and you know, make it so worthwhile.
Well, you got a chance to raise the Stanley Cup 6 times, and it's a pretty impressive career. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you so much.
We spoke for about 45 minutes, so there's always so much stuff that you have to leave out. And if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, I know I've seen the comments online. You're wondering about the 3 years he spent here. He admits it was disappointing for him. He apologizes for some of the things that happened while he was here, just in terms of not achieving success. And he talks about it as well in his book. But what a fascinating guy. One more sports note tonight. Maggie McNeil, who won Canada's first gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics, has won another award.
Here they come. There's the touch. He gets gold. Gold for Canada. Maggie McNeil in 50.
She was a powerhouse at the Games, bringing home that gold, along with a silver and a bronze. And today in Greece, she was named Best Female Athlete of Tokyo 2020 by the Association of National Olympic Committees. Next on The National, the trucking industry is short thousands of drivers.
If we continue down the current path of driver shortage, it'll affect every Canadian's quality of life.
We speak to truck drivers about what's keeping them in the job and what's keeping others out. The job description goes something like this: long hours, available to travel, must love driving. And right now, Canada needs those hires to hit the road. It's estimated about 18,000 truck driver jobs need filling, and to make matters worse, a wave of retirements is looming. 31% of male transport truckers are at least 55 years old. As Canada continues to reopen its economy, the need for truck drivers is becoming more urgent. Nick Purdon went to a Manitoba transport company to find out what's going on.
I think the biggest challenge for the trucking industry today is the driver shortage. I think a lot of Canadians don't want to do the job.
Bernie Drieger has a serious problem. He owns a trucking company in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba, but he can't find enough drivers. And Bernie says the stakes are high for all of us.
How's the Midwest?
Not too bad this week.
A lot of people just don't realize how the product gets to the store. You go to any Sobeys or Safeway or Superstore, your bananas came out of Texas. That's the only place they're coming from. So it's trucks, and that's the only way it's getting there. Oh, let's watch Peter.
From his dispatch center, Bernie tries to keep his fleet of 125 trucks on the road. But that's getting more challenging because he's losing drivers.
The drivers that I lost last week both went to the oil patch in Alberta, so I can't compete with an oil patch wage. Like, we have 5 trucks empty right now, so 5 trucks, 5 trailers, basically $1.5 million parked and not earning revenue.
The driver shortage isn't just Bernie's problem. There are thousands of unfilled truck driving jobs across the country. It makes you wonder, why don't Canadians want to be truckers anymore? Aaron Budding checks his truck over before going on the road. He became a trucker because his dad was one. I ask Aaron why he thinks there's a shortage of drivers, and the first thing he says is the job is hard.
My typical run would be pick up pork in Winnipeg, then head to the border, and then travel all the way to West Virginia and deliver there, and then pick up something near West Virginia or South Carolina or something, and then shoot up in Ontario, deliver it, pick up something in Ontario, and then come back home.
That's 6,000 kilometers in less than a week. Then a couple of days at home and Aaron is back at it. It may be demanding, but Aaron actually loves it.
You know, I feel a sense of pride and accomplishment that I help feed, you know, a couple 100,000 people, you know, every month or something like that, right? So there's a part of the job that part of the job is really nice.
A young driver who likes trucking. Aaron is exactly what the industry needs. Most truckers in Canada are close to retirement, so the shortage is going to get worse. Aaron says the reason young people don't want the job is because there's a stigma.
Some people really don't like truck drivers because they all think we're, you know, big smelly dudes or something like that, which is not true. There's a lot of nice people that work in trucking.
I would say there's a feeling in general population that you couldn't achieve anything else, so you became a truck driver. You're just a truck driver. I've experienced that myself. I drove for 10 years. A lot of my friends were very unsupportive of me being a truck driver and that I was abandoning my family. It's just not true. We love our family and we love what we do.
Bernie wants to make sure his drivers feel appreciated. He says it's important because he can't afford to lose any more of them. That's why he checks in with Myrna Chartrand.
It's a little hard to keep the pink shining in this weather, Myrna.
I know. Good thing I didn't really go that far.
Where are you going next?
Texas.
Texas
on Friday.
Oh, sunshine.
Myrna is one of very few women truckers. Only 3.5% of drivers are female. If the stereotype is that women can't do the job, meet Myrna.
You know, if I have to go to work Friday morning, I'll come to my truck Thursday night and sleep in my truck Thursday night because I'm just, you know, raring to go on Friday. You know, and to me, the truck is my comfort zone. It's my little happy place. It's decorated the way I like, so it's where I feel at home.
And it's where Myrna spends most of her time. Every month, she drives as much as most of us drive in a year, 20,000 kilometers. Myrna says one of the ways to solve the shortage would be to get more women behind the wheel.
I'm lucky to have the job that I have and to be able to, you know, contribute to the economy. I just want people to see that it's not the negative that a lot of people think it is.
Myrna tells me she felt respected as a driver during the height of the pandemic. That was when truck drivers were considered essential workers, heroes of the road. But now that's faded.
Do you think people have any idea how important the job is that you do?
I think until there's necessarily a panic situation, people don't really think about how important truck drivers really are to the economy because, you know, from the clothes you wear to the food you eat to the vehicle you drive to the gas you put in it, everything has been brought by a truck at some point. So if you just stop and think about it for 2 seconds, you can really see the impact truckers have in our everyday life.
Myrna says if people had an appreciation of truckers, it would go a long way to attracting women and men to the profession. Until people look at trucking as a viable career, it will be a scramble for Bernie to get enough drivers, and a challenge for the country.
If we continue down the current path of driver shortage, it'll affect every Canadian's quality of life. Our shelves will not have everything that we're used to having. They'll just have to wait until a truck is available to bring it. That's exactly what we're staring at.
Nick Purdon, CBC News, Portage La Prairie, Manitoba.
Up next, ever heard of a scarecrow doctor?
I make sure that they've got everything they need, and I just really love them.
We meet the dedicated caretaker of these PEI straw men in our moment. Every day, Becca Griffin fixes broken arms, damaged heads, even replaces missing body parts. And her patients, she has about 1,000. So, of course, those patients are straw men featured in the Charlottetown Scarecrow Festival. Meet their co-creator and caretaker in our moment.
I am the the scarecrow doctor for the Discover Charlottetown Scarecrow Festival. I helped set up the scarecrows. Actually, I also helped make the scarecrows. It's my job to sort of walk around town and make sure that none of the scarecrows have fallen down or lost their heads. It's been the best. For the most part, when I'm out being a scarecrow doctor, I make sure that they've got everything they need, and I just really love them. It's just like bringing so much joy in our city, and I'm so happy to be a part of something like that. Last year there was between 300 and 400, and this year there's between 800 and 1,000. It's such a creative endeavor to build just one scarecrow, so it's really lovely to see the community sort of take part in that and use this opportunity to explore their creativity.
So what kind of expertise do you need in your resume to get a job like that? Well, she is a puppeteer. And by the way, I think all the scarecrows are down tonight. The festival ended tonight, except for one. Becca, apparently, I'm told, got a text from a bar that said they have one of the scarecrows inside and they're not giving it up until tomorrow. That is the National for October 24th. Good night.